Yeah, so with Planner, as I shared, it's really a great kind of starting place if you're really trying to figure not only Office 365 out, but if you're really trying to navigate how you're going to manage yourself in this digital environment. As we go through this, I want you to visualize how you would traditionally do plans and work on projects. When I was first introduced in my first kind of teaching job in education, I had sticky notes, I had chart paper, I had a calendar, and I was able to use that as kind of my safe haven to kind of know what's going on. So just imagine that in a digital environment, and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. So there's multiple ways to use Planner. I typically try to categorize it in five buckets, if you will. If you think about student projects, really a great space for students to collaborate, assign each other tasks, and to kind of mark off when they're finished. Multi-step curriculum activities is really good for that. Project management, whether that be with your PLC or amongst other teachers in your building. Also PLC collaboration, because there's a built-in schedule. So we've used Planner to identify, lesson plan development, to identify who's responsible for field trips this year, things of that sort. And lastly, the most powerful thing, and the thing that I'm working through now, is the task management feature. I actually have a planner for myself, and I use that to manage my tasks and set goals and timelines on when I'm going to complete tasks. Now, when you think about Planner, there's three primary ways to access Planner. That's through Teams. You can add Planner as a tab in a channel inside of Teams. And also on the left rail of Teams, you'll get quick access to all of your tasks. The way I'm going to spend the most time with today is through Office 365. And within this kind of umbrella, you can use this as a starting point. So if you're trying to navigate Planner, I would suggest go ahead and start either directly in Teams if you already have a team already built out, or start in Office 365. The quickest way to get there is office.com. Just click on your waffle. You can click on Planner, or you can click on task.office.com. So I'm going to go ahead and pop out there and share what this looks like. So this is a plan that I have built out. And in this plan, it's comprised of buckets. So think of your buckets as categories. So I have a bucket for action plan. I have a bucket for fall 2020 semester. And I also have a bucket for our design thinking PLC and our PD framework. So inside of this plan, before we dive into the board view, I'm going to just highlight there's three different views. You can view your board. Remember that cork board with the sticky notes, or that whiteboard where you dropped all those sticky notes, or that calendar where you had kind of your timelines and your tasks mapped out? This is that first view right here. The second view, you're going to be able to look at progress charts where you'll be able to see progress over time that you'll be able to filter by task, by category, and by member, individual team members on your team. And the third view, which is the ultimate game changer for me, Planner actually comes with a schedule. So it comes with a built-in calendar. And if you look at the week view, you can see week by week what tasks you have to do and they're aligned to their due dates. So let's start from the beginning and with the board view. So again, these top kind of titles here, think of these as your buckets. I often refer to them as quite simply categories. And each category or bucket is comprised of tasks. So you create these tasks. So the beauty of Planner is not only are you able to create tasks, but you're also able to provide a preview of the task. I'm just going to show you an example here. So this is a task that Charity is assigned to. Me and her work very closely together on different teams. And it's assigned to this bucket. And I created this task, and I also created a checklist. Now, the power of this is I can filter it by different labels. So I have a leadership task label here. I can set the priority, and I can make it an urgent task, an important task, and a low task, or a low priority task. I can also drop in notes here. So I have a checklist. She's already knocked out one of the things on the checklist. And say I wanted to add a third item, develop plans for August 2020, right? So I've added a third checklist item here. I'm also able to add attachments. So think of this in two ways. So you can use this to work with adults. You can also use this to work with students. So think about how you can add a link to OneNote or add a link to a Teams channel, and you can have students be pointed directly to those spaces in a one-stop shop. So you can add those attachments, links, files, and SharePoint links as well. Here's where the magic happens. Say I gave Charity this task. She may not know what to do, or she may have a stopping point, or she may quite honestly be waiting on me to kind of execute something on my end so she can continue this project. She can add commentary as she did here earlier. She said she's working on it. So she pretty much let me know it's in play. She's working on it. I can also add a comment here saying great progress. Look forward to seeing the final product, right? She gets that notification. I hit send. Now, I also have a third person in this group. So I have Anthony in this group. He's a member. He also has a action plan task here. So I've assigned that to him. And just know that anytime you're assigned a task, you'll get notifications. So you'll get those notifications instantly. You'll get a reminder when a task it's a day out, when a task is due the next day. So you'll get those instant notifications, and we'll dive in a little bit here on what that built-in accountability looks like. But that's just one example. So he's able to check kind of item by item. He'll check those off. And then once he checks off that the task is complete, I'll get that notification that he completed the task. I can pop out of here, and now down here, I start to see my completed task. So just because you completed a task doesn't mean it kind of goes away or disappears. It's always there for your reference in the future. So that's a nice feature as well. Now, say I was done with the action plans, and we kind of move forward, and we're past that phase of our project. I can actually move this over to the right to kind of get it out of my first glance view. And now it's out of view, and I'm going to continue to move that to the right. So again, I planted the seed with this idea of multi-step curriculum activities, group projects, collaboration. So you should start to see how this can all gel. Now, another cool thing about Planner is you can assign tasks to multiple people. So this task that I created right here is a big task, return to school curriculum planning. It's a huge task. How is our return to school going to look? So I've made this task high priority, and I have attached all of our names to this task because I think it's just critical that we all are aligned on this. So there's multiple steps to that. And the other thing you can do, you can take away this first glance on the task here. So right now I have it set to show my checklist of items on the task on first glance, but I can actually change that. Say I wanted to add an attachment and I wanted to add a file. I can pull up that file here. I'm going to pull up a picture of my favorite son, who happens to be my only son. I'm going to add that file, right? And I can add that attachment. And I can take the checklist off the show card option, and I can change that to have the attachment be my first glance when I see that task on my board view. And what that does, that just gives you the autonomy to shift your views in your first glance. So you have that ability to do that. Also, I can add commentary, and you can have that running thread here. And again, this is where the collaboration happens. So just imagine kind of your new workspace where you can have students collaborating in these different plans, and you can kind of give students the keys to go ahead and collaborate, hold each other accountable, do this project. You guys have the thread, so I can monitor the thread to make sure, if a student wasn't holding his or her weight, that you ask them to complete a task, and I can go back and kind of correct that if I need to. But that's one of the beauties of Planner. One of the other things I would like to point out is this feature here where you can create labels. So labels are not only for those folks who are color-coded oriented, you kind of like to have colors associated with different topics and tasks. You have that view. But the other thing that makes it pretty interesting, you can actually filter what you see on your board by label. So there's multiple benefits of using that label feature, if you will. Here as well, just want to point this as well. You can indicate your progress. So you can indicate that you are in progress, as Charity did. As I shared earlier, she was kind of on track. So she indicated that she was in progress and that she was moving forward with the specific task. So you have that flexibility to do that. Now, I know some of you may wonder, so do students have full autonomy in the plan? So the answer is yes. So students can write notes. They can write comments. Your fellow educators can write comments, share notes, and things of that sort. So you have that full autonomy to kind of run the spectrum with the collaboration there. There's really no limits with this. And again, this can all be added directly into your team. It can be added as a tab. So you can have it housed in your team so students won't necessarily have to go out to Office 365. Now, as we start to process this and think about how we can use Planner, a couple other things I just want to highlight here. If you wanted to reuse a task, let's say, so say I wanted to reuse a task, or maybe I wanted to use that same task and just have a different group working on it, which is a kind of a real scenario with our students, you can just copy that task, or you can copy a link to a task. So I can copy this link, drop it in my team's announcement. Hey, everybody, make sure you're checking in on this task. Drop it in as an announcement on Teams. I can simply move this task to another bucket. I can make a copy of this task. So if I hit copy task, you'll see it'll ask me if I want to copy the assignment, meaning do I want to copy the individuals that are assigned to this task? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no, but you might want to keep that same due date, right? So you might want to keep that there, but I'm actually going to drop this in a different bucket here, and I'm going to drop this over to student projects. So I'm going to copy it, and now I not only have it here, but I have it under student projects as well. So as we think about this, I do want to highlight another feature of this board view. And again, you can filter by due date here. You can filter by label. So say I wanted to capture all the instructional planning tasks, it will only show me those. And again, this will help keep you organized as well, not trying to tackle or, take over the whole world in one day. You just want to focus on specific topics. You have the ability to do that there and filter it by there. You can also filter by bucket, of course, and you can select the bucket that you want to filter. So I've showed you kind of the end product. I do want to show you how this looks just starting from scratch, just so you can get a full feel of what this will look like. So borrowing from Tammy Dunbar, she had a real good experiment earlier talking about iron and using magnets and all this fun science stuff. So say you wanted to do some prep work and build students' prior knowledge or use their prior knowledge to engage them in the real live science experiment. You actually have that ability to do that in Planner. So going back to Tammy Dunbar's science experiment, your first task under student projects may be, let's research. It's going to title this research. And what I'm going to do here is add it as a task. So on first view, there's not much here, right? So whenever you add a task, on first glance, there's not much going on. But once you click on that task, this is where you start to really get particular and get specific on what you want this to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this to my 2 students here, Charity and Anthony. And I don't know if they would ever let me teach them, but we're going to see. And I'm going to make this a very important task. And I'm going to set the due date. I'm going to set the start date to today, actually, and set the due date by Tuesday, because we're going to do our experiment come Wednesday. So the notes I'll say here is this is our first research task. Right? And I want to show that on the card. And I'm going to say research the element iron, right? Because Tammy used iron. I'm also going to say look up the effects of magnets. Right? And I'm also going to assign them the task of let's research, and they should know this as my students, the steps or the scientific method. They should know that those steps by now, right? Hopefully they do if I'm a good teacher. So I've added those checklist items, and just imagine how this could look for you. You know, you can kind of build that prep work, because I know the reality of it is when school comes in the fall, there might be a lot of scenarios in which many of you educators are listening in here. You might have to do some synchronous work and you might have to do some asynchronous work. And I think the better that we're prepared to thrive in both environments will just really get us a head start and really set our students up for success. So this is an option where you can create asynchronous tasks and really require students to collaborate. Because in the future, one of your assignments may be work on your planner task for an hour today. And that will give students the autonomy to get flexible with their schedules. They work on their planner tasks, and you can see those end products in real time. So that's just one example of how this could look. So I've added that task, and you see how it looks here. So the next thing I would like to show you is the charts view. So again, this is the boards view. This is where all of our tasks are created. And this is where you get those first glance and you can kind of interact with your tasks. But think of charts as kind of like your data for your planner. So as you see here, I have 4 tasks that have been completed. I have one that's late. That's my fault. I didn't turn it in on time. And I have 2 in progress, and I have 6 that are not started. So I get some instant data here. I can also see by bucket here how the progress on my different tasks are, and I can see based off priority. Now, this is where the magic happens. You can actually break this down by student to see, okay, Darren Clay, I see that you got 1 task late. Let me see what's going on. So as a teacher, I can just click here, and it will take me right to that task, and I can see exactly what's taking place. So as I click here, when I click this red kind of bar here, it showed me to my right, this is the task that's late. It's also highlighted in red as 2, as an instant kind of indicator that the task is late. But what if I wanted to see Anthony's task? As I click here, you'll see on the right side of my screen, that's going to change. So if I click to Anthony's task, I can see his task over here as well. So let's go ahead and filter here by due date. Let's say next week. Now I can see all the tasks that are due next week right here. So I have that instant data built in, which is awesome. And again, one of the many hidden gems with Planner is the schedule. So this really gives you a nice quick glance on what's taking place each week. And you can kind of click here and instantly it will pop up that particular task. So there's no kind of back and forth. You don't have to worry about going back to the board view. If you just go to the schedule view, you can actually see different tasks that are being required that specific week or day. So that's a real good glance. So in summary, as we kind of process this and we let this marinate, just want to highlight a few things. So the notification settings. When a task is assigned, you're going to get a notification via email, via Teams, and via mobile push. So there is a Planner app. It's a free app. You can download that on your smartphone. You'll get that mobile push. So you'll get that instant notification. Also, you'll get a notification if a task is late, the morning that a task is due, or if it's due in the next 7 days. So as many of you like to do, you educators just love to plan everything, right? We love to map everything out. You may assign an assignment that's not due for another 45 days. Students will actually get a 7-day reminder, kind of a week's notice about an upcoming task that's due. That would be awesome for all students, really, any age level. I think that's powerful. Last couple thing is the hidden gem. So that built-in schedule, that automated accountability, And those data visuals are just critical as we think about the progress charts and how that could really change the game for not only for you holding students accountable, but really quite honestly for them holding each other accountable in many ways and many facets as they start to really dive through with their plans. And also that looks really that's a really good that built-in accountability where you assign a task on a certain day and that task was not completed by that day. You can kind of show the track record and the trend of that task and how it was completed or it was complete or was not completed rather. So in summary, those are the hidden gems of Planner. I do want to show you just a few more things here as we think about how we can leverage this for other ways. So this is what we call your Planner Hub. So inside the Planner Hub, you'll see all of your plans. So you'll see recent plans and you'll see all other plans. So you'll see your teams groups here as well, and you'll be able to see those. The thing I love here as well, for me in particular, I like to see tasks that I'm responsible for immediately, right? So I kind of know what my week is going to look like. Students can see that as well. So I can see my tasks here, tasks that are not started, tasks that are in progress, and tasks that have been completed. So you'll get that instant gratification as you complete tasks. You'll kind of be able to see that you're moving along as you're starting to navigate throughout that semester and throughout that particular instructional unit. So you'll be able to see that there as well. And again, a lot of this will be a collaborative effort between your respective teams, your PLC teams, your students. So it's really an opportunity to use that as a start, because I know many of us will be in a situation where our students really haven't worked virtually before, and we don't kind of know, how they'll react to that in many cases. But I think this is a good starting point as you start to try to build that sense of community within your classroom. If you are working virtually, this can be that starting point for you to navigate through. And the last thing I'll show you is just how easy it is to use Teams for Planner. So I have one of my teams here, and within this team, what I've done is just created a channel called Planner Tasks, right? And within this Planner Task channel, I can go here to my tabs, and you're going to have the option to create a planner tab. So you have two options. You can either pull from a pre-existing plan that you created. Say you went to Office 365 and you created it there. You have the option to pull from a pre-existing plan, or you have that option to create a brand new plan from scratch. Just to show you, they're exactly, replicas. They're very similar views. I'm just going to create a plan from scratch. I'm just going to title it New Plan. Once you hit save, students will get a notification that that plan has been created under the post, but also the exact same view here. You got your board view, your charts view, and your schedule view. So I can create those tasks. So task 1, add task, click here. This is the same exact view we saw in Office 365. So it's really powerful either way you want to start with this. But also I would encourage you, if you're already using a team, go ahead and just drop it in and add it as a planner within Teams, and you'll have that flexibility to do that there. Also remember, when you're using the calendar view, if you do select a start time, it will show throughout the duration of that window. So if you had a week-long kind of task set along, it would show from that Monday to the following Monday. By default, you're only required to select a due date. You're not required to select a start date. So that's completely optional to you as you start to figure out what works best for you and your respective teams here. So you have those options. You have that flexibility. Just wanted to highlight that, and literally is integrated directly inside of Teams. The last view I'll show you real quick You actually can add planner over here to your left rail, which is pretty cool as well, because what happens is you can click here to see your task. So many of us and many of our students, by the time fall comes, they'll start everything inside of Teams. Like they'll literally go to Teams to start. They won't even go to a website because you can drop in any website, any link inside of Teams. So there's kind of not necessarily a need to go to the web anymore. So within Teams, if you have this planner on the left rail, students can see my tasks. So if I'm logging in Monday morning, I can see, whoa, I got several tasks to do, and I need to go ahead and knock these out, and I can kind of match those up with the due date. So you have those three views there as you think about different ways to use Planner.
You've been listening to the TEACHERCAST Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter @TEACHERCAST or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.